Hello! I've always said this, that it isn't a matter of how much muscle mass you have, but what's more important is your ability to use your mass efficiently. Mass times acceleration equals force, your ability to harness your kinetic chain in a fluid and quick manner via crisp technique. That is what will maximize your ability to deal damage. This explains why some of the hardest hitters we've seen are actually dad bods with good form. Added the large muscles produce more lactic acid, which means you're more likely to hit your VO2 max in an attempt to mitigate that buildup. VO2 max, the maximum amount of oxygen a person can utilize during intense exercise. Even if you get a slight power buff initially, which of course is not always the case with large muscles, we've seen just about every fighter with a large muscular build gas from unloading their fast twitch. This is a reality to more muscular builds. Few build them in a manner which maximizes devastation, they may rot, but most, due to being built without considering the brain-muscle connection, just forge stiffness, which might actually end up impeding upon one's ability to deal their maximum amount of damage. That is what we consistently see, virtually all of them struggling at some point of their martial arts career due to their VO2 max being reached early, and few of them actually being able to harness their muscle mass effectively because they weren't built with consideration to the habit that is effective, efficient kinetic linking. That's why many of the greatest fighters to ever exist, we've seen that they are not necessarily the most athletic looking people. Instead, many possess dad bods or lankier frames, with skill being their most dominant attribute. Large muscles may be a catalyst, but technique and skill are the most dominant factors even when it comes to delivering power. Understanding this, here is where we see Joshua lost his bout. Joshua was doing very well versus Andy Ruiz. He actually looked very dominant initially, but it's as he said, he admits himself why what happened. He's a fighter first, a boxer second.
Fighter at heart, boxer by trade.
After he knocked down Ruiz, Ruiz rose from the blow perfectly fine. He did not have a glazed look in his eyes. He was clear-headed and still had that same confidence. There was no waver in his spirit. This is composure. And actually, a very rare instance for Joshua. After all, Joshua not only possessed huge muscle mass, but with crisp textbook form, possesses effective kinetic linking. That harmony is why a lot of the time when he touches a man, they are concussed. But that was not the case with Andy Ruiz. Joshua underestimated how hurt Ruiz was, thus he shifted from his boxing to momentarily a straight-up fight. Who knows if he was inspired by Wilder, as glinted by the commentators, but he appeared to want to finish Ruiz early. Ruiz, on the other hand, was still playing his game. He was still composed and collected amidst Joshua's engage. Every time you throw a punch, you're open to eating a punch.
You want your guy to punch, because everybody is vulnerable when they punch. Everybody is open, even me.
Using Joshua's own beautiful cross as a gauge, side of head, in came a check, entering against that explosive advance. Here, he shelled up, clearly concussed. Meanwhile, Ruiz touches around guard, taking advantage of the opportunity. This right hand right here, efficiently transferring that heavyweight mass to dome. Technique is what harnesses mass. Ruiz has just that. From here, Joshua's wobbly, not only because he took heavyweight mass to the dome, but also because of the tax from his large muscles unloading early. Because Joshua appeared to want to finish early, flurrying, investing power, he's tired, he's breathing much harder than Ruiz is. From here, he's lost his capacity to keep Ruiz at the end of his reach. When your arms and body are gassed from lactic acid buildup, one's power is greatly diminished. He couldn't make Ruiz respect him nearly as much anymore. It became a one-sided walkdown. Joshua's shotgun was reloading too slowly, and as the bout progressed, he only became more tired, more concussed, finding it harder to breathe. VO2 max. When you reach it, it doesn't matter how many times you heave to bring in oxygen. As your red blood cells are overloaded, it truly feels like you are suffocating. Even during his Klitschko bout, Anthony Joshua said getting knocked down was a blessing, as the few seconds he had on the ground gave him what he needed to regain his breath. In this case, after unloading, Ruiz never gave him the opportunity to find that breath. Ruiz's game plan of walking down Joshua, it forced Anthony to consistently expend more and more energy, which only made the problem worse for him. More tired and more concussed as the bout progressed, I think Joshua would have won if he played his game more conservatively with a focus on stifling Ruiz's pressure. He is a clinical boxer after all. Unfortunately though, that one early miscalculation set the roll for Ruiz's snowball. It happens. This doesn't take anything away from Joshua. He's still a titan amongst those who reside in the boxing world. Unfortunately though, the heavyweight division is not a normal division. Due to their sheer mass, if paired with technique, one mistake is all it really takes. One. Every fighter has their own game. Wilder gives up fundamentals and telegraphs a lot, but one shot is all he ever needs. He gets hit a lot trying to find that one shot. Tyson Fury lacks power in comparison to other heavyweights, but he can finesse and appear untouchable, making his opponents look like amateurs. The man is perhaps the biggest phantom you'll ever see. Joshua, he is a balance between power and clinical philosophy. Not to emphasize power, but due to his genetics, a godsend to any coach who teaches clinical form, as naturally, even tight, conservative shots armed by Joshua will rock his opponents. That said, nearly all of us underestimated Ruiz except for this excellent page here. I read their insight before the bout, and they made a solid case for why Ruiz had a very good shot at beating Anthony Joshua. 105 amateur wins, only 5 losses. 33 professional wins with only 1 loss. This man is not a man anyone can take lightly, especially in the heavyweight division, where one punch can completely change the outcome of a bout. That said, a champion is first born in the heart, rekindling his fire after defeat. It'll be interesting to see how Anthony Joshua recovers. I will definitely be tuning in, for it is as Confucius had said, our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Thank you, Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz, for the privilege to watch. If you like more from me, please subscribe and hit the notifications. Thank you if you did. It really does help the channel. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. It's good karma. And until next time, peace.